Morning, all. All right, so some news of the day for all you fine people for your Saturday, November the 19th. Before we get the NHL action started this morning with one game, let's go ahead and take a look at some injury news and things of that nature and all the speculations that are running the rage. On the way to and from the game, I listened to some NHL Network as well last night, and all the speculations and who might go where. And the funny thing is that in the van while I'm hearing this, I would say something, and then 10 seconds later, the guy on the radio would say something. So I can only assume the only logical answer is there's bugs, and that they listened. That's the only logical answer, right? I thought it was funny because he mentioned at one point, well, Timo Meier and whether or not teams might look for him, and I said, man, that $10 million qualifying offer might scare teams off. And then the guy on the radio goes, yeah, and of course there's the $10 million qualifying offer. I'm like, yeah, see, there you go. All right, so Samuelsson, for Buffalo fans who are wondering why I'm wearing the Buffalo Slug, well, A, it's been kind of an ugly run lately, so I figured the Buffalo Slug works. And B, maybe the ugliness is going to come to an end. If Samuelsson coming back, which he's close to doing, if that turns around Buffalo's fortunes, his contract that kicks in next year looks like a bargain. So he was a full participant in Friday's practice. Great news for the Buffalo Sabres. Jack Quinn could play tonight. He's missed the last two games. It's an undisclosed injury for him. So, yeah, Buffalo has had a really rough time of it. I think the injuries have been really key. I don't think that's the entire reason. But again, for some teams, they have the depth to absorb injuries. And for some, they don't have the depth to absorb certain injuries. So that's where we're at. Speaking of injured players, it looks like Nick Roy is doubtful tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights. Bruce Cassidy not letting it be known whether or not Lecision's going in or whether or not Amadio's going in, but there's some depth up front there. When Amadio and Lecision are your healthy scratches, both have been very good for Vegas when they've played for them, so Vegas definitely has the forward depth that other teams might crave. And so hopefully Roy isn't out for that long. But again, doubtful doesn't mean he's not playing. It just means he may very well not. He's probably not, and not 100% sure he won't, but probably doesn't. Speaking of players who may or may not play, well, Zub is no longer in that category. He is playing. He is back tonight, which is why Zaitsev has been sent down to Belleville of the AHL. He, of course, cleared waivers not that long ago. There was discussions of whether or not Ottawa might trade him over the last 2 years. The market just hasn't been there. My guess is as we get closer to the deadline, teams will likely then take a look at Zaitsev. You accumulate your cap space in order to prepare for the trade deadline, and that's probably when Zaitsev ends up getting traded. I also wanted to throw in there from last night's game. So in the preview yesterday, the preview/news video I did yesterday, I mentioned I was hoping I'd get to see Brock Boeser's first goal, and I did. What's interesting is that in the games that I've gone to, there's at least 4 different games I've gone to where Brock Boeser's had a goal. Because, of course, I have this silly little, I basically say Brock's name the same as Paul Heyman says Brock Lesnar's on wrestling because I'm a geek. So I've done that a lot of games that I've gone to. Boeser has a very good track record when I'm there. So on some level, I feel like, Brock's problem's been I haven't been in attendance, and I apologize for that. And the one thing I kicked myself about was that I didn't wear one of my 2 Brock Boeser jerseys to the game. And it's possible he may be in his last season in Vancouver. He may end up being a player who ends up getting traded. For all the tunnel vision people have about, well, they're going to have to trade Horvat. They don't have to. They can re-sign Horvat. It just means that a guy like Boeser may have to go instead. But I do like Boeser a lot, no matter what happens with him, whether he stays, whether he goes. I'll follow him and cheer for him wherever he goes. So yeah, it was a fun game last night. And there were times during last night's game where I thought to myself, why can't they play like this every game? This is a good game. Until the third period, and then I was like, if you guys could stop allowing so many really good shots from in close on Demko, that'd be great. I like that they were trying to help him with a save percentage. Maybe try getting more shots on the other net as well. Of course, for trade rumor season, which appears to be now getting into full swing, the Toronto Maple Leafs are involved in a lot of rumors. The difference is, comparatively speaking with other years, I do think that there's a good reason to believe that these rumors have some truth to them. Muzzin may very well be done for the season, and they definitely need help on the blue line. So with the the salary cap, or what the LTIR, giving them some salary cap relief so they could look to add on the blue line, there is reason to think that Toronto may be picking up a defenseman sooner rather than later. Their start to the season has not been fantastic. It hasn't been awful. I think it's been overblown at times, both in the positive and in the negative, and true somewhere in the middle. But I figure they'll probably pick up 2 defensemen. That's my guess. But we'll see what they do and who they're after. Again, you don't want to acquire somebody with a big cap hit who has term left and end up in a bad situation this summer because, potentially Muzzin comes back and you end up way over the cap. So I would think it probably will end up being a rental. That's just a guess off the top of my head that it'll be a veteran who's on an expiring contract. So once the Erik Karlsson rumors start up, I would think we can probably just shrug that off and think no. But I'm waiting. I haven't seen that one yet, but it'll happen. The Erik Karlsson to Toronto, it'll happen. Not that the trade will happen, but that the rumor will happen. And honestly, it would make some sense for Toronto if they had the cap space to look for a guy like Karlsson. That'd be perfect on the blue line for them, right? But anyways, that being said, we'll see what they end up doing. Defenseman news for the Montreal Canadiens. Matheson makes his season debut tonight. The Montreal Canadiens have overachieved to this point. It does feel like it may not be fully... They may not be able to stay in the hunt for much longer when it comes to a playoff spot, but man, it's fun to watch them, isn't it? And that's one thing I've said the whole way through is that Marty St. Louis makes them fun to watch, whether they win or lose. And that's really the key thing when you're going into a rebuild, is trying to make it so the games are still enjoyable to watch. I don't think fans care as much about the winning and losing when a team's in that situation, as long as they see the effort. So as long as the players are still making the effort, and as long as you're getting a full 60 minutes out of everybody, you're not going to get complaints from the fans, which is where certain teams will get criticized, because fans will then watch other teams and say, hey, this effort isn't the same as it is for the other guys I just watched. So, Matheson being back means Montreal has some decisions to make on the blue line. I've seen some debate about whether or not Xhekaj comes out of the lineup. I'd be kind of surprised if Xhekaj came out of the lineup. I understand that, with depth being as it is on Montreal's blue line, he may be the odd guy out, but I'd be very surprised if Xhekaj ends up not being a regular, because regardless of the situation and the fact he doesn't have to clear waivers, he is so much fun to watch. And, he can fight, he can hit, and he's got some speed. Really, Xhekaj's fantastic. I would be kind of surprised if he doesn't end up staying in the top 6 somehow, some way. I also wanted to throw in there something I've noticed both online and I saw in person last night after the game. I have never seen the Canucks store that full. And most of the people in that store were buying reverse retro gear, looking for reverse retro gear, and asking about when certain items were going to come back into stock that had sold out. So I understand, and I've seen a lot of comments online about, well, it's a cash grab. It's a cash grab. Yes, third jerseys have been cash grabs dating back to the 90s. Teams didn't actually have to have a third jersey, but it is a cash grab. And I realized that back in the 90s when Vancouver had their red third jersey with the gradient, which I didn't mind. The red skate jersey I thought was okay. I think the reason that people end up not liking it, in part, was because the team was kind of falling into disarray, and it looked like their jersey was too. So, because it looked like it was half-finished jersey on some level, and the team was kind of half-finished too. But these are selling like crazy, so I've already seen a lot of items sold out on the NHL shop. There were a couple of hats. I was thinking, well, I could buy that. Well, it's gone. So, yeah, these are items that are selling out very, very quickly. So, I can't confirm we're going to get a Series 3 of Reverse Retro, but yeah, the NHL's got to be making money hand over fist with this. Merchandise sales are part of the monies that are split between the players and the ownership in the NHL. So, yeah, the more that the merch sells, the better it is for the players too. So, yeah, we may end up seeing more jerseys. I know the Kings kind of pushed it a bit when they had a fourth jersey. When they had the third jersey, and then they did the throwback to the late 80s Kings, the updated version they have now. Yeah, so once they went to fourth jerseys as well, yeah, I mean, of course it's a cash. It's not like they're making these jerseys so people don't buy them. So it's an odd criticism to throw out there, and I thought I would put it in this news video. So, yeah, you guys can let me know your thoughts. Everything, it'd be like going into a store and going, they just want us to buy this stuff, don't they? Yeah, that's kind of the idea. That's kind of it. It's not like the NHL's just going to make these blank white and black shirts and go, yeah, they're whites tonight, they're blacks, and that's it. There will be no logos any longer. We don't want any more cash grabs in this league. No more money. And then they closed. So, yeah, I did think that the Johnny Canuck was a big hit. That's one thing, too, that I thought was interesting, because I remember there were a lot of comments about, oh, Canucks fans don't like the Johnny Canuck reverse retro, but, boy, fans outside of Vancouver sure do. I would say, based on what I saw yesterday, and just based on what I've heard from fans I've talked to, they like the Johnny Canuck. So there were some very vocal fans that I think wanted a different design, and that's fine, wanting a different design, but it doesn't mean you have to hate on the one they went with. All right, I also want to throw out there something else I saw online, I've seen over the last couple of days. So Calgary and Florida are playing today. That's the afternoon game before the evening games get started. And, of course, this is the first time that Matthew Tkachuk plays against the Flames. Huberdeau plays against the Panthers, Weegar as well. But it is too early for us to call a winner in this trade, and I understand the desire to do so. I get it, because Huberdeau and Weegar have both had their struggles in Calgary thus far, and Tkachuk has hit the ground running in Florida. He's been fantastic in Florida. But it's still too early to call the winner of a trade when these guys are going to be there for so long. So long. I would say that the amount of time you want to wait before you declare a winner and a loser in a trade is, I would say, 2 years. Honestly, a blockbuster trade like that, I think you let it breathe, you give it a couple of years. Yes, Huberdeau's off to a rough start. Weegar's had some challenges as well. It does not mean that things won't change between now and the end of this season or the end of next season as well. So when I see, oh yeah, no, Tree Living got absolutely fleeced. That's not how fleeced works. And again, Huberdeau's still a pretty good player when I'm seeing these comments, but, well, his best years are behind him. Is he 50? Because that's kind of when you start throwing that at. It's just weird. So I would say it's far too early to call a winner in that trade. And I would say with free agents, it's too early to say which free agent signings were terrible and which ones were great. So, yeah, there you go. All right, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.